Past life regression is not limited to lives on Earth. Past life regression is not limited to lives as humans. Past life regression is not limited. I know it's weird because in our context, we can't really imagine that we could be these other things, but from my experience of 11 years doing past life regression, what I have seen in sessions, and I'm not claiming this is absolute proof because these are people under hypnosis telling me what they're seeing, okay? So, it's not scientific proof, obviously. But when you have a couple thousand people telling you very similar things over the course of years, you start seeing a pattern. So let's start with the basics. I've said it before, but either consciousness came first, or matter came first. So if matter came first, which would be what most scientists, I think, would say, if not almost all of them, that matter ended up condensing into things like planets, galaxies, stars, black holes, all of that. And then on planets such as Earth, evolution through all kinds of random occurrences over billions of years. Evolution created life, and consciousness is some random kind of mutation of life, I guess, according to that theory. I'm not trying to make fun of it. I'm just trying to summarize it as best I can. And then religious people, spiritual people, whatever, would take the opposite. Instead of saying that matter created consciousness, that consciousness is basically some kind of random mutation that came out of evolution, like an adaptation for survival. Religious, spiritual people, whatever you want to call us, think that consciousness is independent of matter, that consciousness came first. Now, imagine that's true, because if it's not, you don't need to watch this, literally. Okay, so imagine consciousness came first, in whatever form that we probably can't even imagine. And consciousness created matter, maybe in order to experience itself through different perspectives. And so when we look at it that way, then we can imagine if consciousness isn't requiring a human brain in order, or animal brain, or whatever, in order to exist. Now, for example, they've shown, there have been studies about plants that indicated plant consciousness. Now, there's no brain in a plant, so where does the consciousness reside? So the idea is that we, through reincarnation, we take on every conceivable form. For example, I've had clients go into lifetimes as being a rock. Now, that doesn't mean that the rock needs to be destroyed in order for that consciousness to leave the rock. Okay, it's not kind of like a human body incarnation. It's more like the consciousness inhabits the rock for a while to check out what that's like. It's a whole different experience. And then when it's done, it leaves. I've had clients be animals or trees. I've had people literally be suns and galaxies. If consciousness does not depend on matter, then there's no reason consciousness couldn't exist in the form of a sun or a planet or a black hole or whatever. Obviously, it wouldn't be consciousness like our consciousness. But think of it as just different levels, like Russian dolls, right? If you look under a microscope at blood cells, you might see a pathogen come into the blood, and all of a sudden these white blood cells mobilize, and they go do that. They go eat up the pathogen. I would argue there's consciousness involved in that. Right? Now, a lot of scientifically minded people would just say some switch is flipped. My crude way. I'm not speaking for scientists. But, there's some stimulus that creates a response and there's no consciousness involved. I don't think that's really a scientific statement. I think it would be scientific to say that you can't prove that there's consciousness, but in my mind, there's a consciousness of cells, there's a consciousness of organs, there's a consciousness of systems, and then there's the consciousness of the person, the physical person. And then we can go above that and say there's the consciousness of the soul, the oversoul, blah, 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 going, And so in my mind, consciousness just goes from level to level, experiencing different things. Just like you go in your life from home to office to restaurant to movie theater to concert, whatever. It's different experiences. And consciousness loves different experiences. That's what it seems like. So, one of the most common arguments against reincarnation is, well, the population of Earth is greater than ever. Where are all these new souls coming from? To which I always respond, it's a big universe. They're not only coming from Earth. And it's really funny in a session when somebody notices in another life that they don't have the right number of fingers. And the skin is blue or something, and they notice that they're an alien. And not only are they in this alien body, but their consciousness is very different. So, beyond that, then there's the idea of oneness or source, which is really kind of the sum total of all consciousness. So if we think that, there's a layer of, let's say, the consciousness of a quark or a neutron or whatever, going all the way up to the consciousness of all that is as one thing. And that consciousness just floats around to different levels, having different experiences. And the idea is for us to be more flexible, right? And more joyful in our exploration of reality. So when you do past life regression, if you do past life regression, don't be surprised if you go to a life that's not human. If you do, that is because a part of you needs that experience integrated into your current experience in order to take the next step. And it's just interesting. It's just kind of wild. So, anyway, tell me what you think in the comments. I'll be curious. If you'd like to do a past life regression, you can email me at andysway@yahoo.com and tell me what would be an ideal time for you to do that. Thanks for watching. Bye.